Hello. I think I'm live. Am I live? Can people hear me? Is anyone here yet? Let me see if I can get people in right quick. All right. Hello, whoever's out there watching. My name is Colwyn the Conqueror. And if you are wondering what we're going to be doing today for a little bit, we're going to be discussing role playing, like as in role playing games. I have been playing these kinds of games for roughly 15 years, maybe a little bit more. I don't say I'm necessarily like the biggest expert in it, but I do have a lot of experience with various types from Dungeons and Dragons to Rifts to Shadowrun to World of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness, multiple types of games. And I've probably played Chronicles of Darkness, or what it's now known as Chronicles of Darkness, more than anything, closely behind Dungeons and Dragons over the years. So if you have any questions about how to roleplay, both as player or storyteller, narrator, DM, dungeon master, whatever you want to call it, go ahead and put them in there. I didn't get any responses from my Facebook posts or Twitter posts. So, let's just have some fun. I'll probably be live for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. That's what I'm thinking about. So just any questions you guys have, I'll be constantly, coming back to this and saying why we're here. And as I get questions, I will read them on here and I'll answer them. So to begin with a little bit of something, role playing is very therapeutic for a lot of people, myself included. You're allowed to be something else. You're allowed to be someone else for a glimpse of time, for a very small amount of time. And it's very good to experience change. Everything. Do I watch WWE or AEW? I watch both. I'm a big wrestling fan. So good question. Thank you. Um, yeah. Um, the other things that I want to mention is about role playing is that you know I said you're allowed to be someone else. You can create an entire world around your character and around yourself and around your party through the collaboration of your other players and of your storyteller, your DM, your game master. Let's just call him that, game master. Um, every game, and I mean literally every game, has their every kind of title for the person telling the story. Rithing again asking something. Do I think that Corey Graves is the SmackDown hacker? Actually, I'm kind of on board the CM Punk AJ Lee storyline there, with that one being involved. That's what I think is going on. But, that's not exactly what I'm doing here. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. He did play a big part in their in-ring return. Yeah. Yeah. Talking about wrestling here, guys. For those of you that don't know what's going on, who I'm talking to here, Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that goes along on with wrestling that a lot of people get into. I'm one of those that really gets into the storylines and stuff. Do I know Romania? I know of Romania. I've never been to Romania. So, anybody have any questions about role playing games, um, anything along those lines? I know some of the people that might be here have either played with me or have been involved in games that I'm in somehow. Um, I just finished uploading and set to premiere the next episode of Austin After Midnight, literally right before I started this stream. That's one of the reasons why I kind of held off for so long is I was letting that update, and then I can and then I could go in and set it to premiere. So that'll be premiering Tuesday night here in Texas, which is where I am. It'll be around 9 p.m. for the premiere day. All right. So Rith thing is asking something else here. Do I think The Rock and Batista should star in a movie together? I think that would be really cool. I don't know what that would be about. Um, and have I played Total Overdose? I've never even heard of Total Overdose. That sounds kind of bizarre, but also interesting. Two of which, two things of which I enjoy. If it's bizarre and it's interesting, I'm really gonna dig it. But I mean, again, any questions about role playing? Hey, there's Pandar. Cool, cool. Welcome, Pandar. Um, so I've been discussing some wrestling stuff with uh with Rithing here, and they said that Total Overdose is a Spanish version of GTA. Grand Theft Auto. Wow, no, I've never even heard of it, and that sounds a bit odd. One of my favorite streamers that I've been watching a lot lately has started playing what's known as Drug Dealer Simulator, which is a lot like GTA, except you're dealing drugs. Otherwise, why would it be called Drug Dealing Simulator? Which is in its own way is a weird take on a role playing game because you get like perks and things and experience that you can use in the game to gain things like that. From what I've watched, um, personally, right now the biggest things that I'm role playing with game wise is I'm playing a lot of Raid Shadow Legends. You know, my YouTuber senses went bleh, whenever they just kept paying and sponsoring almost every YouTuber that I watch, and I was like, all right, you know what, fine, I'm gonna let advertising work on me this once. I say that it works on me pretty well, a lot of times. Um, and so I've started playing that. I started streaming it a couple nights ago. And I might be doing that again a little bit later tonight. I don't know yet. Total Overdose 2 is also known as Chili Con Carnage. Yeah, okay. I need to find that. That sounds like so much fun. Okay, yeah. But anybody in the chat right now that wants to ask me any questions about any kind of role playing games or anything really, I've been talking about wrestling, I've been talking about video games, but we're really here to talk about, role playing games. So anybody that has any questions about that, please don't hesitate to ask. And I'm going to be doing one probably every week for the next few weeks. In 3 weeks, actually, I'm going to mention this at the end as well. We're going to be doing role play rally. We're going to be doing that online. I'm actually wearing one of my role play rally t-shirts. We're going to be doing it online. It's going to be really challenging, but I'm looking forward to that challenge. Uh, I'm going to be doing the epics. I'm going to be running the epics again. I don't know how that's going to work. Every DM is going to be slated. Well, let me go ahead and say what Roleplay Rally is. Roleplay Rally is a weekend where we do nothing but play D&D. It's a lot of fun, and oh no, your gold dragon shirt got chewed up by your dogs, Pandar. Well, let me know what your size is, and I'll get you another when we have a few of those left. I can have them mail that to you. just let me know, and I'll get you another one if you want it. But yeah, we're going to be doing that in a few weeks. Be on the lookout for it. I'm going to probably, if I'm friends with you on Facebook or on Discord or something, I can send you links if you're interested in joining us in games. I will, I don't know what I'll be running yet. We're still trying to figure all that out outside of the epics. A lot of DMs kind of bailed on us once they found out we were going online, which is kind of understandable. The game is best played um like in person. Don't get me wrong, it really is. But whenever you can only play it online, then and you need something to distract you from all the crap that's going on, yeah, I'm gonna do it. But I haven't decided. I might put it out there to anybody that wants to play any games with me in there. I will. I'll put something out there like, what modules do you want to play? I did um oh Dragon Heist, Waterdeep Dragon Heist in at the last one. I could maybe do the next one, which is the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, but I don't know. That's a really long module that we wouldn't be able to get through in the week. I don't. There's some stuff in the Tomb of Annihilation, or not Tomb of Annihilation, Tales from the Awning Portal that I could run. A couple of those. They're all Adventurers League. It's going to be, I think, $20. I think it's $20 for the weekend, and then like $3 or $4 per game. But I'm not entirely certain. I'll get back to y'all on that in next week's stream. I'll start asking questions more about what we're charging and what the plan is there, and it'll be all at home. Y'all can join in and have fun with us. But yeah, again, give me more questions. That's why I'm here. There's going to be a lot more role playing stuff coming on the channel soon. The same friends that are in Austin After Midnight are in a Middle Earth game that we might decide to start recording and putting on the channel. I'm going to be changing the format almost completely regarding future episodes of Austin After Midnight. Discord seemingly was a bit more choppy in the audio than what I was liking. We're going to be discussing that over the next week. But, be on the lookout and give me requests if you want anything, like if you want any games that you want to see played on the channel, if you have anything like that, like any D&D, any Shadowrun, any of those games that you want to see played, I'm pretty sure I can get my friends to play it. And or if you're interested in playing, let us know and we can talk about it, and we can have kind of like a gaming audition, and I'll look through the game and I'll see if I can run it. If it fits something that I can do well, we can play it that way. What's my top favorite RPGs? Oh my gosh. Ooh. All right. So, my favorite role-playing games ever in the way of, let's go with bronze medal first. Bronze medal first goes to um Warhammer 40K Death Watch. You play Space Marines that go through, and they are the best of the best whenever it comes to being Space Marines. And you make stories about, stopping alien invaders or things like that within the Imperium. It's a lot of fun. I've run it multiple times. I would love to do that on the channel. Trey, the guy that plays Bran, was in my longest running Death Watch game, and he loves that setting. So we might do that again. Silver medal would probably go to D&D. I'm not going to say, 3.5 or 5e. Those two are almost tied right now. I like them both for very different reasons, and I dislike them both almost equally. So it's going to be D&D, period. It'd be either D&D 3.5 or 5e. I just love the stories that you can tell on it. I also will include Adventures in Middle Earth there. That's the other reason why I would include 5e in that one, is because I can play Adventures in Middle Earth. It's the first time D&D has ever been officially partnered with Middle Earth something. So there's that. And then probably gold medal would have to be Chronicles of Darkness, what we play whenever we play Austin After Midnight. I love the horror setting, and I love the idea of playing a monster in some cases that that you can build a story around, to where they're not just monsters, they're not just mindless beasts, but they live in a world, and they try to make the world suit their ends and things like that. It's very interesting. Um, within within Chronicles of Darkness, my two favorite within those would be probably Werewolf the Forsaken and Vampire the Requiem, which we are playing Vampire right now. Vampire is very much an intrigue sort of game. There is a little bit of combat, there's a little bit of mystery in it. It's very fun, it's very in depth. Werewolf is the combat venue of the Chronicles of Darkness. It's almost like you're playing like the Avengers or the Justice League, but you all turn into furry kill monsters, and it's wonderful. Or not furry, fuzzy kill monsters. Let me put it that way. Um, yeah. Any other questions about role playing games? You know, I can answer just about anything. I know a lot about the history of them, and what they do, and how they are, and how they play. You know, I don't know if everybody was here whenever I said this earlier, but the uh, the next episode of Austin After Midnight is uploaded to YouTube, but it won't premiere until Tuesday night. Uh, I'm really looking forward to that one. I had a lot of fun editing it last night. Um, I had to add a couple of things to it that were a bit complicated, and the challenge was a lot of fun. I tried as much as I could to kind of overhaul the audio on it. Um, I ended up just cranking it up as loud as it would go, and trying to catch all of my little like blips from turning on the Discord push to talk. That's another reason why I'm like, I don't know if I like Discord as that main medium, as that main format. But we can discuss what to do later on. And again, if you guys have any recommendations for role playing games featured on the channel, put them in there, and I will, or tweet me. I am at Colwyn the Conqueror on Twitter. Uh, yeah, that'd probably be one of the better ways to get a hold of me in that way. I also have a Twitch channel, Colwyn the Conqueror on Twitch. The last time I tried it, last time I streamed on Twitch, I had a really bad lag problem, and I hope that I fixed it at the end whenever I was playing Raid. It sounded like I had, um, but I don't know for sure. I'm going to try and probably do that again tomorrow night. I'm probably going to stream more Kingdom, and then I might jump over to actually playing some West of Loathing. I don't know yet. But again, let me know what you guys want on the channel, roleplay wise. I'll be doing more Dead Space on the channel here soon, or uploading more Dead Space on the channel here soon. I've completely finished the first one, and I'm almost done with the second one. And I'm trying to figure out how to record other games. OBS is very new to me. It's very difficult to do that kind of stuff. Uh, but one of the things that every YouTuber that talks about, if you're going to do YouTube this way, you have to stay consistent, you have to stay motivated, you have to stay, uploading things as regularly as possible, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to schedule things around, or schedule like videos throughout the week. Like I'm thinking about doing a Dead Space night, and a role play, like where I give out a role play game night. and then either Saturday or Sunday, um, doing a live stream Q&A. All right, so Pandar asked, how did I get into RPGs? All right, so this is a fun story. I was a freshman in college, and my future fraternity brother actually introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. He ran a few games, and then with his schoolwork got a little too much, and he had to stop. Um, he had to stop running it. Well, we tried it with another friend for a couple times, and then the same thing happened to him. Well, I was like, all right, guys, my turn. I started running it, and every couple of weeks we'd have either a different campaign or something like that going on, or different. We would basically only play like characters once or twice. Um, we didn't have long standing campaigns because the players just didn't want to do it that way. And so that kind of lent to my gaming style becoming very ad lib and ad hoc, to where I could improvise things very quickly, very off the cuff or very on the cuff. And that's one of my strongest points as a DM and as a storyteller, is being able to respond to new situations, and perfectly fine if somebody wants to try to derail my game, I can throw something in it that makes it still fun. But that's how I got into RPGs. And then whenever I moved up to the Northwest, I really jumped into the RPG games, where all of my friends were playing various games, not just D&D, but they got me into Chronicles of Darkness. I joined what's known as the Camarilla, which was a LARPing group for what was then known as World of Darkness or New World of Darkness, as well as World of Darkness, where that was Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, all those. Um, I played in that edition a little bit, but it didn't have the same, I guess, the same allure to me that New World, what's now known as Chronicles of Darkness, does. Um, Everything seemed too predetermined whenever it came to that world, and I'm not a big fan of predetermining stories. I like to let them grow organically and let the players decide what happens whenever given the chance. So, again, more questions, I can answer as many as you need. The other games that I'm really into are Palladium. They're Rifts games. Um, I had a long, probably about a year long game in the Rifts world, using the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles setting, which is where, like, Rifts was where TMNT kind of got its main storylines to some extent, or sold some of their storylines to Palladium. And I've built entire like campaign, or an entire campaign about that. It is a lot of fun to play. Um, it's high sci-fi, can be high fantasy. Um, you know, that's something that we might consider playing on the channel. Except there's one small problem. Rift's characters need a whole day to build in a lot of cases, because they have so many books, so many things. Like, none of the features are found really in the main books, and the main core book is like 800 pages thick, you know. So there's a lot of material to go through. Uh I read, let's see, what was it? Probably that was about the fifth or sixth edition of Rift whenever we were playing it. And I read the entire core rule book, and it took me like 4 days of almost doing nothing but reading to get through it all, taking notes, understanding the way that the rules work, the mechanics work. It is obnoxiously dense and difficult. But I could probably be able to kind of narrow it down using D20s or D100s or whatever. Um, okay, Trey just asked me a question on Facebook. Would I be willing to do a drunk RPG night? And as someone that has played with me in that state, he knows that the answer is hell yes. It is a lot of fun. You can get a little too far sometimes, and you kind of gotta uh, pace yourself in order to have fun with it. But yeah, I would totally be down for doing that. I've done it a few times with D&D. I've done it once with Call of Cthulhu, which made that setting even more intriguing and more bizarre because we were drinking things like what was it? I was drinking absinthe first of all. That was an almost mistake. So my ideas and my improvisations within the Cthulhu mythos really took off whenever I kind of got plied with absinthe, which is somewhat minor hallucinogenic, especially if you drink enough of it. But we'd have to see if other players would want to do it, especially if it's Trey. Kelsey might be willing to do it. We'd have to talk to her about it. Um, I feel like honestly that would be something more fun to do in person to some extent than it would be online, but it still would be fun to do online. We just have to make sure that our mics weren't pushed to talk. So if we get too far gone, we're like, we don't look like this when we're talking. Yeah. But, you know, I just need to know any other questions or have any other questions to ask. Because I want to be live for at least another 30 minutes or so, you know. Um, and the next couple of weeks, we're going to be, since this is kind of like a role playing in general, what next week is going to cover is going to be how to run a game, how to like run a module in some cases, make them a bit more fleshed out and fun because modules are built like a skeleton and you're supposed to put flesh and bone or flesh and blood and a pulse into that. And a lot of times that doesn't really, it's really hard to do. So I'm going to give some tips on doing that next week. The following week is wait, he's got another one. What are some things that hang on. Trey just asked me another question. Hang on, it was on Facebook. Eh. Eh. Maybe I can get it on my phone. Eh. Sorry about this, guys. I'm trying to get this question from Trey. Man, I don't have Messenger on my computer. So, what are some things that you think keep new people from playing RPGs, and how do you combat them as a DM? Ooh, that's a really good question. So, I have dealt with a lot of new players, and I say dealt with very kindly in that way because role playing is not easy for a lot of people. Everybody has a comfort zone, and role playing invites you, kind of forces you even out of that comfort zone. And the way that I combat that as a DM is I kind of make them as comfortable as possible. I kind of gauge the way that they respond to certain stimuli, and I kind of pull them in with stimuli within the game. Like for instance, if you're playing D&D and you have someone that doesn't understand what's going on in a game like D&D, where they say for instance they're playing like a ranger or a barbarian, and they don't understand why a wizard does magic and they can't. I kind of pull that into them in a role playing way by saying that barbarians tend to fear magic because they don't comprehend. They don't have the brain power at the moment. That's not to say that they can't learn it. That they can't comprehend it, and oftentimes they fear it and attack wizards. That can cause them to attack their own party wizards, which in some cases is not a good thing. But let's see here. The other thing that I would say is if you're new and you're interested in wanting to play a game, um, find someone that is interested in telling a story. Find someone that likes to write, that likes to read, that likes to talk. I like all three of those things, and I'm pretty good at all of those. As for playing that way, if you're really, think about your favorite characters in fiction or something like that, and maybe try to make a version of them, but give them something of you. Like I always say, if whenever I'm playing a fighter, I usually play dwarf fighters. I usually play dwarves. Period. I usually play a dwarf paladin. But most of the time, I combine my personalities with characters like Gimli from Lord of the Rings or Torquil from the movie Krull. Other things like that. Look at other characters that you enjoy and kind of bring them to life in your way, using the mechanics of the game. The DM should be able to do the same thing, knowing how you're going to be playing. So there's that one. I hope I answered that properly. If not, you guys can ask for some more clarification. Pandar asks something in the chat here. How much time do I spend prepping for games? That depends on the game. It really does. For Chronicles of Darkness, I spend probably 24 to 48 hours, depending on what we're going to be doing in the game, over like a span of a week. For D&D, depending on what it is, if it's a module, I only read I read the basics of the module, kind of like what to do with it, how to change it up. Uh, Running games is not a short thing. People would say, he says wow to that response. And if you say that's too short, well, you have to keep in mind, I only do the storylines. You guys live the storyline that I write, that I make. And I have to kind of plan out contingencies within those. And I often don't plan them out. I kind of prepare something mentally, but I don't actually write it out. I don't do all that much. I don't do that much writing necessarily. I kind of have an outline of what to do. Oh, his response was, "Wow!" for the 24 to 48 hour prep for Requiem. Yeah, um, those games take a lot of story building for the characters. In order for me to play a character, especially in Requiem or in the Chronicles of Darkness in general, I kind of like being that character. In fact, something for future reference that you guys are going to see is yesterday I got in the mail from Amazon some like paper carnival masks or carnival masks that I'm going to be painting to represent certain characters within the Requiem game. That way you can't really, you can tell who I'm playing and I'm not just being me. Um, the first one I'm going to make is Bishop Vertigo. If you guys want kind of a glimpse of him, I can give you some of his voice a little bit later on. He is the longest character to this day that I play, that I have. Uh, Closely behind him is the werewolf Melchior or Mel. Um, They will both be featured in Austin After Midnight. Mel might not be nearly as much featured. He might only show up very, very briefly. Mel is the character that is most based off of me. Period. Vertigo is kind of a close second. Vertigo kind of dips into, like, really dips into the dark, uh, not necessarily depressing, but dark, pseudo pseudo insane parts of my personality. Um, but yeah, I'll give you guys a glimpse of him if you want a little bit later on. But Mel is very much a, you know, guy's guy. He likes to drink beer. He likes to hang out, watch baseball all the time. Kind of like what I do whenever I'm not playing games. I just sit down, watch movies, watch TV. Baseball is my favorite sport. You know, I do things like that. So, any other questions? Trying to think. There were some other things that I might have wanted to say, but go ahead and keep asking questions. I can come back to my thoughts. Um, oh yeah, the other cool thing about role playing is you can you can like I said, you can be someone else, but you can also play as both good, evil, middling characters. Trey just asked another question, and it kind of well, and I'm going to get into that whenever I managed to read it right quick. And it leads into this because he asks what other role playing games would I like to play, but I haven't been able to. He has a couple that I really want to try. Black Void being one of them. We've been trying, for months to try to do something like that. Um, I just need to be able to sit down with the book, which is again another massive dense book that is really detailed. It's a horror setting, but it's seemingly set more Babylonian, which is really fascinating to me. And I really dig that kind of atmosphere, that kind of ambiance that it has. The other game that's coming out is a D&D game it's a branch of D&D, kind of like a spinoff called Cyberpunk 2077. I believe that's what it's called. I've played it once in a new player thing at Major Sanctum in Austin, where I also run games, and it's so much fun. It just came out a few months ago. I'm gonna try and get my hands on the actual book, but it is set in the future, like the somewhat near future, and you play um like it says, it's a cyberpunk kind of game, and you play anything from like a cyborg to I think what I was playing was a type of fighter that was more like a mercenary, and it was a lot of fun. We played it for like a solid 3 hours, and I had a blast. So I would love to try to play that. I may in fact say that one would be a new possible favorite of mine once we get into it. But and if players are interested in that, Phil and Trey are both here. It looks like if they're interested in doing that, I will try to get my hands on the book and tell them where to get it, and we'll see if we can sit down and run that maybe on the channel. Um, but that brings up the point that I was making earlier, like probably about 10 minutes earlier, whenever I was talking about how role playing games are the storyteller, game master, DM person is only the beginning of the story. They kind of narrate what happens. They can make the story up, don't get me wrong, and they should make the story up in most cases. But they don't bring the story to life as much as the players do. And that's part of the reason why I enjoy role playing as much as I do. I enjoy telling a new story. I enjoy more than anything bringing stories to life. You know, I enjoy writing, but and I'm good at it, but I enjoy living the stories that I write. It's kind of that you might call that like my selfish uh my guilty pleasure that I do with role playing and with just the way that I play games. You know, I like board games that offer a certain level of role play to them, and I play those out. Sometimes that gets a little bit weird for some people that just want to play a board game. I mean, there are times whenever I'm just like, I just want to play a game, man. I don't want to role play. I don't do anything like that because I've been doing it. All right, Pandar. See you later. Hopefully you'll be available for Friday so we can record the next episodes of Austin After Midnight. See you later. But the best thing about storytelling for me is the collaboration of it. The the fact that I kind of give you a I kind of give the players and the audience a world that they don't really understand or that they may understand. You may see it every day like you do with Austin After Midnight. And one of the best things that's really cool about playing a game set in a modern setting and in your hometown is you can start to see where I kind of get my ideas from and why things are the way they are, why I put them where I did. Um, for instance, in I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler on the next episode of Austin After Midnight. We find out that in that Dave, Phil's character in Austin After Midnight, lives in at the very top of the Google Tower in Austin. I don't know what's up there at the top, just behind the G. I don't care. I put Phil's Haven behind the G because I thought that was kind of cool because he's one of the big like Google executives in Austin. So it made sense to me. I do that kind of stuff. And Kelsey responded with, "Oh, great. So now every time I drive by that building, I'll think Dave's up there. And you get to kind of do that with your own life. And that's also another thing that role playing allows is it allows for your life to have a reflection in the game. You can get a little bit too much into that, and that was a big deal back in the 80s with D&D and other games where parents misunderstood what their kids were doing, and it really kind of got demonized for what they were doing. I can go through an entire like lecture on the history of D&D and its stigma that comes from the 80s. See, because believe it or not, I am actually a pastor by trade, and a lot of Christians are still nervous about D&D, about what it can do. And I simply say, "Hey guys, look, it's a game. We don't actually go off and try to conjure Satan or anything like that. We don't even necessarily play that way because it's not what we do. We're telling a story. As much as we say that we're playing a game, we're actually living out something that happens in a game. Like for instance in our Middle Earth game, we interact with Gandalf. It's like we are playing these characters interacting with these like staples of literature. I'm working on a side project that I'm working on right now while in isolation. Is I'm working on a Harry Potter role playing game or something set in the Potter verse, where it's the adults, what happens after they get their education and all that kind of stuff. And I'm having a lot of fun, you know, messing with the mechanics of that. I haven't decided what kind of mechanics it's going to use yet, but that's just something that I'm doing on the side whenever I'm bored, which I have a lot of time on my hands, being in isolation with the pandemic and all. But that's what I'm doing whenever I'm not working on Austin After Midnight or the Middle Earth game or streaming or recording for y'all. But any more questions? Either Facebook, chat. I haven't got anything. Wait. Are there any genres or games that aren't as represented as what I would like to see, according to Trey? That is a good question. And weirdly enough, yes and no. It's hard to have an original idea. Let's put it that way. It's hard to have an original idea that somebody hasn't either published before or thought of before and kind of takes it on as their own. Every culture, to some extent, has a role playing game based on it. Every genre, to some extent, has a role playing game based on it. Whenever it comes to like representing things, man, I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that. Um, you know, it would be interesting to have a how to phrase this. I haven't seen one, but I'm sure it exists. I kind of wouldn't mind seeing something set in like the American West, like the American frontier days. I'm sure it exists, but I would love to play something like that because I really enjoy that kind of setting. I love that genre. Um, I am a Texan by nature. My family grew up as ranchers, oil field workers, stuff like that. So I kind of have that bred into me. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that, and I would love to try and play it. If it doesn't exist, I might look at potentially designing it myself. But again, I haven't seen it. Uh, that might be the only one that I could think of off the top of my head. Any other questions? I mean, I could sit here and ramble for another like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I don't mind. I'm good at it. But I'm really wanting to help y'all out if you have any other questions. You know, like what do you like to do if you're new to role playing? Is there a certain style that you like to play? Is there a certain character you like to play? Would you like tips on how to play a certain type of character? Because I've played multiple types. Just because I'm, a paladin slash bard in reality doesn't mean I'm not gonna jump in and play like a half crazed sorcerer or barbarian at a drop of a hat. I would actually do something like that, and I have done something like that. Some people have seen me play that and think that it's really fun because I don't play that normally. Okay, what are some bad experiences, according to Trey? What are some bad experiences I've had with role playing and how to avoid them? Okay, so within role playing games, the biggest and baddest experiences that I have always comes from rule jockeys. The ones where they make the rules get in the way of enjoying games. There's a reason why Rule Zero exists in role playing games, which Rule Zero is the DM or the storyteller or whatever should be always right. You can show them the story, you can show them the rules, but if you're stopping the game for the sake of a rule, you're kind of holding back on people's funds or on people's fun. And to we're not here to like play a game a certain way. We're here to have fun. We're here to play. We're here to just be with each other. The other things that I've encountered are people that like to dominate the game. And there's an easy way as a DM or as a storyteller to navigate them. In some cases, or in most cases, not in some cases. There are really, everybody has a personality, and there are really strong personalities that like to show out, especially in D&D, or especially in role playing, and they come out as being like overly domineering, want to control everything, take the story away from the DM. That's usually in some cases because those players are bored. So what I tend to do is I give them something to work on, or something, that will engage them in the game and out of game to do. I haven't had to do it for a while, but that's my idea. That's something that you can do to avoid that kind of encounter. Other kinds of things are if you have kids in the game. Kids are a very difficult challenge to do because they haven't quite sometimes understood patience, and that they have to wait for their turn during initiative, or whenever they're going through, and if it's a party of kids, everybody wants to do everything at the same time, and you got to tell them to wait their turn. Sometimes it's better, if you're going to run with kids, to sit them down in a certain order and make that their initiative. In that once you say initiative starts, you then go around and they do they say what they're going to do. It doesn't matter what they're playing. And eventually, once they maybe get patience, you can, once they've gained patience, or you've kind of explained to them, and they finally get it, you can let them, go according to the rules, for initiative. There are several other bad experiences that people have playing games, troublesome characters or troublesome players, where their personalities clash. That's just kind of normal, especially if you're playing in a public place like a shop. Um, you know, it's hard to say exactly how to respond to that, because personalities just clash. That's just the way it is. Um, and it's hard to navigate that, because both people could be wrong, both people could be right, according to their personalities and just according to the situation. Um, the other thing is role playing, especially like D&D and a few other games, are largely male driven, and a lot of times when women show up, or you know uh, gender fluid people show up, they get a lot of attention that's pointed their way that is arguably negative. It may not be intentional, but because of who they are, they get special treatment, and in a lot of cases, that special treatment is inappropriate, and it happens from both player and DM. Sometimes I've seen it. It's not a fun thing to encounter, and try not to do that as best as you can. You know, they're human too. They want to play the game. They want to have fun with it. They didn't come there to get like hit on, or anything like that. You know, if they want to hang out after the game, and you think that they might be interested in that, you know, pursue it then, but not during the game. And even then, be very careful, because that could ruin your game dynamic if something goes, wrong based on that interaction. Um, there's a lot of stuff that can happen in a time frame of 4 hours whenever you have a game session. Um, I don't know. There's several other things that I can't really think of. If you guys have any other questions, probably going to have like the last couple questions. We're about 5 minutes to an hour on the live stream, and I only wanted it to be maybe an hour. So if you guys have a couple more, I'll take like two, maybe three more questions, depending on how long they take to answer. Anybody? There's one. Okay. That's another tough one. From Trey. How do you feel about people in relationships playing in the same game? I'm fine with it. A lot of times relationships in real life reflect relationships in the game. That's fine. Sometimes they don't. And it becomes a thing of, well, if they're going to play a thing where they're together in a game, they can play a thing where they're together in a game. You can play it that way if you want. If they're going to play it to where they aren't together in that game and they might want to pursue, in-game romance with either an NPC or another player character, you need to bring that up with all of the parties involved. And then once you say, look, this is what has come to me, that somebody came to me saying that this seems like it's becoming an organic thing within the game. Is this cool? It's one of those conundrums that you run into with the inevitability of everybody being, close friends a lot of times in this situation. Romances start in games, like real life romances start in games. I've seen it. I've been a part of it. You know, it just happens. It's the nature of humanity, and it changes the game dynamic to some extent every time. So if you know that there's a couple in the game that want to play together, say, look, how do you guys want to work the dynamic? You have to talk to them as much as they want to talk to you about that. It's not impossible, and don't discourage it, because if you discourage it, then somebody's not going to play a game, and that's what they want to do. And if you're the one that's going to run it, you got to be ready to deal with it. And if you don't want to deal with it, don't run the game. You can play in it, but just be prepared for that. One more question. If anybody has one more question, either on Facebook or on live chat here. So I hope that this is also recording on YouTube and that it'll show up on the channel. I don't know if it is or not. I'm not actually recording it on my computer, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. That's no big deal for me. I hope that I've, given you guys something useful, given you guys some good tips, some good advice. Hang on a minute. Trey sent me a picture. Hang on, I gotta see this. Oh, he just sent me a picture of the Witch King of Angmar as a bonfire ring, saying that the perfect fire doesn't it? Yeah, the perfect fire exists. I agree. I want one. I need one. I need that in my life, like immediately. Please, somebody make that happen. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, this is where I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I hope you guys had fun. Come back next Sunday, I guess, for the next one. This will be on storytelling and running games as a whole. So if you have any questions, make those available. I'm gonna announce it early on in this next week. Be on the lookout for Austin After Midnight on Tuesday at 9 o'clock Central Time. And I will keep you guys posted on Roleplay Rally. We'll talk more about that next week. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. This is Colin the Conqueror, signing off.